Hey, one of my subscribers asked me to do a video on how to make an ultralight windscreen for your alcohol stove setup. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to apologize for the shadows out here. I'm in my garage. I've got some shop lights up to give me enough light. And unfortunately, it's just going to cast some shadows, but hopefully you can at least understand and see this. Okay, so this windscreen is just made out of some aluminum. It's made from a disposable baking sheet. I'll show you what that looks like. When you go to the grocery store to pick one up, you can see it. Now, how do you size it? Well, it kind of depends upon your application and what you've got. For example, this little Evernew is sitting on a little cross stand here. Okay, and with my little 550 milliliter pot, it's plenty big enough. Okay. To keep the wind out. All right, and with an alcohol stove, you've got to use some kind of a windscreen. All right, if, for example, I'm not using my 550, I'm using my, I think this is a 750 milliliter Evernew. If I'm using that on there, still plenty big enough, still plenty tall enough, not going to be a problem at all. Let's say I'm using my 1.1 boiler here by Halulite. That's still going to work by GSI. It's a Halulite. So still plenty of protection on that flame. What happens if I'm not using my cross stands on that, and I decide to use my DX stand? Okay. Now this technically has its own windscreen built in, but I can tell you that it doesn't work real well. Okay. So now if I've got my little 550 pot on it, that's still good because where the flames are coming out, it's down here. So that's still protected, no problem. So that's going to be the same with any other of the pots that I do. It's still going to cover where that flame is trying to come out right there. All right, now this is a caveat I'm going to make. You are not supposed to use a windscreen with a canister stove. Okay, if you do this, you are going to blow yourself up. Okay, should I repeat that one more time? If you do this, you will blow yourself up. But what are you going to do if it's really windy out there? Okay, and you absolutely need to have something to help keep from, not so it's blowing the flame out, because it probably won't do that, but it'll blow the heat out from under the pot. With this same windscreen, if you rub it on a surface like the edge of a rock or your leg, it'll flatten out a little bit, and then you could sit there and you can use it that way, away from it, but blocking it somewhat. Okay, and I had this on me with this setup on the AT here this last April the 27th. This was my setup, and honestly, this was not quite tall enough, because as you can see, it is just barely below the top of the burner. Okay, so it really wasn't very effective. So even though I had it with me, what I did most of the time was I used my Z-seat, and I would just sit there, usually most of the time at a picnic table, and I would just kind of put this up, hold it with two hands, if you will, and just kind of use that as a wind block. Okay, all right, but you really have your heart set on doing this. Well, you also need to know what your setup is before you build yourself a windscreen. What size canister you're using. Okay, if you look at this, all right, so here is a pocket rocket, which is taller, on top of the 8-ounce canister. This is a 3.9-ounce canister with a little BSR 3000T on it. Okay, quite a bit different setup. You can see the height difference is quite a bit. So you're going to have to know, well, what size windscreen, how tall is it going to need to be, and how long does it have to be? So how far do I need it to wrap around? Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about here. Let me show you the things you need to get started, and we'll go from there. I think just for fun, I'm going to build a little bit bigger windscreen for this setup here. I'll keep this one that I've got for my alcohol stove because it seems to be the perfect height, which is why I made it. I just adapted it for this, and it didn't really work. So I'm going to build myself one that can be used as a wind block. Notice I'm saying wind block, not a windscreen. A wind block for this. Once again, you never want to put anything around here or it'll blow yourself up. Okay, to be able to do this, you're going to need some sort of a straight edge, okay? Some sandpaper, just a pair of scissors. You don't need any kind of fancy tin snips or anything like that because this aluminum is thin enough that you should be able to use that. A Sharpie, one of these little single hole punches, a piece of some bare rope, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then your target, whatever you're building your windscreen for, okay? And I went ahead and put my BRS stove on here with an 8-ounce canister because that's kind of what I found mostly on the trail. So I'm gonna build myself I'm gonna build it as a windscreen, knowing that I'll only use it as kind of a wind block. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Okay. A couple more things you might need. You need some aluminum. This happens to be a disposable like drip insert you can put in the bottom of the oven to catch, you know, overflow from pies or whatever, and it's like say it's disposable. That's what I use to make my other windscreen from. Here is a cookie sheet, and you don't need to get worried about like all these little bumps and stuff in here, or this one. For example, the windscreen that I made was made from one of these. And you know, once you get done cutting it out, you're gonna take your straight edge, you're gonna flatten it out, and all that's gonna disappear. Okay. All right. So let's determine how we're going to make this. One of the first things you need, of course, is you need your target, which you know, your alcohol stove. If you're going to do a windscreen, if you want to do just a little wind block for a canister stove, you have to kind of know the height that you're looking at. You know, for me, for my setup, I typically have this BRS stove with a larger canister. That's what you find most of the time. And my little 550 pot, so I could heat up 2 cups of water and do my freezer back cooking. So that's kind of what I needed. And really, it needs to at least cover it needs to at least block the flame. So you know, you put your straight edge down. And for me, it looks like about 7 inches is almost halfway. We'll do about a 7 1/4 to give myself a little bit of material to turn down. 7 1/4 high. Okay, and for the length of it, how do you determine that? Let's say that's an alcohol stove, and you want to surround it, and you need to know how much to cut it. Just get yourself some thread, or in this case, a piece of rope, and you can lay it down and kind of determine, if you will, the circumference, you know, and then you just lay it out here, and then you measure it. And you know, that's 16. Oops. So that's 16 plus, I don't know, another 3 inches, 19 inches. Well, one of the things you're going to discover in all of this, so you can order titanium windscreens out there, and you can tell them how long you want it because they'll cut it off. But if you're using this method, unfortunately, you know, this one sheet only happens to be 14 and a half inches long. Okay, so it's going to be a little shorter windscreen. Would work perfect for an alcohol stove. Okay, since this has got a little bit bigger circumference, you know, you look at 16, 17 and a half. So in reality, and what I did, and this old one works great for being a wind block. It's just not high enough because the height on this, I made it for my alcohol stove with a cross stand, and it's only about I'll probably cut it at 5.5 by the time I turn down. You turn down the edge here to keep it from cutting you. So 5.5. So it's about 2 inches shorter than I want it to be. So what I will do is I'm going to make this basically the length here, but I'm going to make it another 2 inches or so higher. So the next thing we do then is we're going to have to mark this out. And you take your Sharpie, okay, and I'm going to come over here and let's see. What do we say, about 7.25? So there's 7.25 there. So if I come up to here and draw my line, and I come down here about 7.25, I'm going to draw a line. Let's see here, right about there. Okay. And this is not precision work like a carpenter would use, okay? This is just us making this work here. Okay, and I come over here, come down once again about 7.25. Hopefully it is off. Sorry about that. It's off the screen. Sorry about that. So I drew a line across, marked 7.25 down, 7.25 down. Going to connect the lines here as best I can. Okay. And you can use a square if you want to, or you can just swag it. Okay. Not perfect. Matter of fact, I think I want to come a little bit further over here. So no harm, no foul. Let's just move that over now. Move it up to that corner. Okay, gonna make it a little bit longer. No problem. Just do what you need to do to make it work. This is very easy to cut with just any pair of scissors. Even that rolled edge is easy. And remember, this is going to be all crumpled up, so you know, you don't have to worry about it if it's going to be pretty or not. Because as soon as you get done and roll it up, it's going to start looking like a piece of aluminum foil. You do have to be a little careful. It's not super sharp, but it's sharp enough. Okay. All right, so now we've got our nice piece here. If you want to, you can grab yourself kind of a straight edge of some wood if you want, and flatten it out a little bit. You do that, you also kind of help the edges a little bit because you know you made some rough cuts there. So you can just kind of push all this out. Okay. Writing's going to stay around probably a little bit, but that's okay. We'll put that on the bottom. All right, so that's been smoothed out. Now, just to be on the safe side, just take a little piece of sandpaper. Doesn't matter what kind. Okay, there's a piece of aluminum there that I don't want to be messing with, so we're going to snip it off. Okay. Just kind of take some of the burrs off. Makes it a little safer. Okay, something like that, very simple. Okay, doesn't take much. All right, the next thing we're going to do, and this is where it helps to have maybe a little bit longer straight edge. Let's see if this one will work. Is just kind of come up to the edge a little bit. And what really works well is a chisel. Let me go get one of those and I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn up this edge. And I like to use the chisel here, okay? Has a beveled edge on it, the flat edge. I'll use the flat edge. And I'm just going to use it so I can get up underneath it here without cutting myself. And I'm just going to turn these up. Okay, and then if you've got another straight edge, I'm going to use this piece of wood here. I'm going to just kind of push it up against here, run it back and forth a couple of times to kind of get it nice and flat against it. And then I can kind of come up and I'm going to roll it down. Push it past the vertical a little bit and you can kind of work it down. Okay, and once it's worked down a little bit, now you can take that piece of wood again, flat it out, and just run it like that. All right. Tell you what, I'll do a long edge here, and then I won't bore you with doing the other two. I'll finish those off camera and come back. But the same thing here. This is just going to be, we'll have to move this one down as we go since it's a little bit longer than the straight edge, but not a problem. Once again, just move that chisel up underneath there. You know, a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver will probably work. May have to take a little more patience, but you know, because they're not as wide, so it may take a little bit more. If anybody's got a suggestion of what they could use if you don't have a chisel, throw it in the comments section. Share it with the rest of us. Once again, you could probably do this with your fingers, but is it worth getting cut? Probably not. All right, and once again, get the edge. I'll just slide it a little bit. And come down and lift that up. All right. And once again, I think I'm good just to take my fingers here just very carefully so you don't cut yourself. Roll that edge down a little bit. Okay, I'll take that piece of straight edge wood there, kind of smash it down a little bit. Okay, and run it back and forth there a couple of times. Make a nice crease. Nice crease along that seam. Okay, I'm going to do the other two edges and then we'll be back. Okay, so all four edges now are turned over. And you know, you saw that last edge I just kind of used my fingers only. Didn't really like that, so I went back to taking the board and pressing it on one side against the straight edge on the other side, and then kind of did the roll, kind of a little bit of a rolling, and that really helped to kind of push it over, so that was better. Next, we need to put some air holes in the bottom because you need to have air coming in, and you know, the flame up high is going to draw air from down below. So you're going to want to put this on the bottom side, and don't get this too close to the edge. For one thing, you don't want it to kind of cut through. You don't want it to hurt you structurally. and it's okay to have the air holes up a little bit higher. So I'm going to put them about 1 inch. Just put a little hole, a little mark here with your Sharpie. And I think I'll end right there and not get too close to the edge there. Okay, so I got the holes done. And then you just need a simple paper punch. And believe it or not, a paper punch will work. Except I may have put the holes a little bit deeper than what my paper punch will do. So we'll have to have them, we'll put them right underneath the dot here. Lesson learned on that one. I guess you can put them up too high. Okay, so they've been punched. They don't really come off, so you're going to have to kind of come up here, and you're going to have to work them loose. And what you'll find is they're probably 3/4 of the way through, and you'll need to probably come up here and take your scissor, okay? And you're going to need to kind of finish cutting them out, unfortunately. Okay? So let me do that with the rest of these for you, and we'll be right back. Okay, it took me a little bit of time messing around with the scissor to remember what I did last time. So last time, you know, I had the same problem. I tried to use the scissor. Well, if you come back to where you had punched it and then move it back and forth, okay, that'll make a nice clean hole. So, you know, do the same thing. So when you punch it then, just once again, rock it back and forth until you feel it go through. And that is a much easier way to do that than to try and do what I was trying to do with a pair of scissors, because it wasn't making very pretty holes, and it was leaving a bunch of burrs. So, all right, I'll finish this up for now, and then we'll come back. Okay, all the holes are punched, but there's still some burrs. So just take your piece of straight edge wood here, run along one side, flip it over, run it across the other side, get all those burrs off so you don't end up cutting yourself, and it feels nice. Okay, so there's a windscreen. Okay, and you can bend it, you can roll it, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. That's how I would use it with a canister stove. Once again, do not wrap it around it. Just kind of use it as a windbreak, if you will. But it works best, honestly, as an alcohol stove screen, which you really need to have. Okay, everybody, that is your DIY screen. And then it's easy. Just you're going to initiate it by just rolling it up the first time. This is how you're going to do it to put it in your kit. All right. So it's going to go in your kit. I'll go and weigh this one. This one that I did, which is a little bit shorter, that is, I'm sorry, that was 17 grams, or 5/8 of an ounce. Okay, 1 ounce is 27 grams. So this is 5/8, or about 17 grams. So it does not weigh hardly anything. And I'll go put this on the scale since it's 2 inches taller, and I'll tell you how much it comes out to. Okay, so this one is 21 grams, or 3/4 of an ounce. Okay. So 6/8 versus 5/8. Not a whole lot of difference. Once again, you know, you get ready to use it for the first time, you just unroll it. Okay. And you can bend it, you can circle it, get it whatever you need to do to make it work. All right. And then over time, it'll start to look like this. When it comes out, you just run it against a straight edge and it straightens it up. Or you can curl it up again. Very flexible. And you'd think the aluminum would eventually like break, but it's still going strong. This is, I used this for 2 months on the trail this last year. So anyway, that's it. There's your DIY. There's your DIY windscreen. All right, everybody. Have a great day and have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. Bye.